I think we need in this society is to come to two more concrete notions of identity. One, we need a more concrete notion of national identity, because the nation state is still a powerful actor. It's not going away anytime soon. I know one of your guests who's also been on my podcast, Balaji, disagrees with me, but I have spoken to Balaji many times, both on the show and over the phone at length, and I really value those conversations. I appreciate his different point of view, but I've never agreed with it. I've not been convinced by it. I think the nation state's a very powerful entity, and it has very powerful institutions and can project force. So because of that, we need to get to a sense of common identity that incorporates those power structures that we can all be on board with. And we're not there right now. What we're doing is we're actively tearing those things down, number one. And number two, and this is not necessarily the purview of the state, we need to come to a clearer sense of our own identity as individuals. Because I think this is something else that's happening today. You see it in the transhumanist movement and other areas where people are constantly creating new forms of identity, trying to understand what it means to be a human being. You see it in terms of gender norms. You see it in all sorts of other places. And I think that speaks to some kind of internal crisis around what it means to be a human being. I think it goes that deep, and I think that has to do with technology. That's my guess. I mean, you're very fair to point out religion and how religion, the slow sort of disillusionment by members of the public with religious institutions led to a kind of crisis that Nietzsche talked about as the death of God. But I think that where it's coming from today, there is, of course, that lack of religion. There is the neoliberal sort of commercial value system that many of us grew up around, which was that, the point of life is just to make more money, to develop more efficient supply chains, et cetera, which has never been fulfilling. But I think technology has really created a kind of crisis in humanity, and people are, and around a sense of meaning, which you guys know I've talked about as nihilism. So I don't know if that makes sense.
It does. I think that breeds first kind of a comment. There's also in the Bill Joy article, I think he was quoting someone else and I'm paraphrasing here, said like at the end of the day, there's nature, there's humans, and then there's the machines, and nature is on the side of the machines. And like this speaks to like basically this folding in of humanity into technology, right? And that Bill Joy article is very much about kind of the assimilation of humans and machines together, and what that would look like over time. And I feel very much, Demetri, like we're in it. We are totally in it. That's what's happening with all of us. Like the amount of time we spend on screens versus previously on the internet, now serving the algorithms, like that is happening, and that is having an impact existentially on our reason for existing, both at the identity level and the societal level. And I want to go back to this, the kind of the question about values. David and I say something like, turning this into crypto parlance, where it's like the layer zero is people. And what we're really referring to here is like underneath the different layers of a blockchain, there's actually this social values structure of like, are people willing to run the node that has censorship resistant software or not? If they are, we have censorship resistance. If they don't, we don't. And it all collapses back to layer zero, the people. And I feel like getting back to the story of America, I don't know if the US really knows what it values anymore. Like, I feel like there is this sense of what are our base principles, and things that I thought were base principles for society, like democracy and truth and the right for everyone to vote. It turns out, or like just freedom of speech, right? It turns out that like if the person is red and you're blue, or if the person is blue and you're red, you don't necessarily subscribe to those base principles for the other tribe. And I feel like as Americans, maybe, and the US has sort of forgotten its core value set. What do you think about this? And like, is this something that is a precursor to, as David said, getting out of this chaotic era for the US and emerging with something that's free and open. And maybe there's some space for the nation state success on the other side of this chaos. But in order to get there, do we have to remember what our core values are? And like, what are those core values? Do we even know?
100%, man. I couldn't agree more.